Hey, it's Shaggy. Welcome to the live show. It's live at 5 o'clock. Today's guest doesn't live on island. Probably nobody that you'll run into at the grocery store, but a very interesting cat that I know. And if you know anything about the history of me and shows, you probably know something about him as well. He was up for a Rando Award. Yay, Rando! The heck is a Rando Award? We'll find out all of that in just a second, okay? So stay close. And, well, how do we kick off every other show? Roll intro.
Live from beautiful downtown Kahului, on the #1 island destination on planet Earth, the Valley Isle, Maui. From the Akaku studio at Halfway to Hell Plaza, it's live. And now, a man that's known far, but not wide. It's Shaggy!
All right, today's guest comes to us all the way from sunny. Is it sunny over there?
No.
It's Ron Purtee from Racine, Rancid.
Racine. We're not Branson. We're not that cool.
Oh, okay. So Ranson, Wisconsin. Oh, first
Racine. We're not as cool as Branson, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
We haven't reached that level of hillbilly heaven yet.
Yikes, man. I'm so sorry to hear that.
I know.
Okay. Well, first off, we got to start off with you are an independent director, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And what kind of stuff do you mostly do? Because anytime you say independent director, I'm going to be honest, sometimes it could mean, the Triple X stuff.
No, no. Because believe it or not, to make that kind of stuff, you have to have money to make money.
Oh.
I tried looking into it, but that's besides the point. Mainly horror. And I've done my share of like the body image horror, where people get body parts cut up and so forth. But in my later years, as I'm getting old, I look for more of a creep factor, if you will.
Oh.
More of a like, I'm gonna creep you out and scare you that way. More like a Stanley Kubrick or a Ty West, as opposed to an Eli Roth.
Oh, okay. But this is the thing that gets me, because a lot of people, when they do stuff from their house or their independent directors, they go in a comedy direction. What made you choose horror?
Well, and it's actually a funny story, because I could have gone either way. Because the first film I ever saw was Ghostbusters in the theater. Back in the day, my mom took me to see Ghostbusters. And as anybody who isn't living under a rock knows, Ghostbusters can go either way. It's either a comedy or it's a lightly veiled horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And I just I think after that, I was over at my dad's house, and he was asleep in his recliner, and he had a VHS tape, kids, sitting kind of, how you would just keep them half out of the machine.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was, so I pushed it in, and it was the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it was the part in the film where Leatherface puts the woman on the hook, and to this day, people still think that he actually puts somebody on a hook because of the way they shot it and the angles, and that film is just full of innuendo and people think it's a lot bloodier than it is, but it really isn't. But I think that's what really drove me towards horror, is seeing that little bit, and then realizing that it's kind of horror is an escape, and I realized that this is what I have to do.
Really?
It took me a while to get there, but I'm doing it.
I just knowing what it's like to make my own stupid shows and stuff. Horror isn't exactly, shall we say, budget friendly for independent producers, is it?
Well, it all depends. Because I think the most that I personally have spent on a picture was Indoor Air, my newest one, and that was $50.
Really?
Yeah. Now my effects guy, Brandon Nichols, I can't enunciate apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he spends on makeup stuff, but he's doing stuff outside of the films too, so that kind of just goes together, you know. But I don't remember. Yeah, like $50, I think, is the most I've ever.
Wow.
Well, yeah, it's all about atmosphere, and it's about learning how to do things on without having that big budget. You know,
So you depend on a lot of, I guess I would say, suspense to bring it, I guess, low budget horror realistically believable. You know, you have to create some sort of air that the danger isn't something that you pay for in like running blood and monster masks and things like that, but it's something perceived, correct?
yes and no, because one of the more I guess well received films of mine in the genre, I guess I sound so damn pretentious, but is
Don't worry, this show is all about pretentiousness.
yay is a film called From the Heart, and Fangoria did a write up on their website. Don't look for it; you won't find it. Just yeah. Follow me on Twitter if you want to see it. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But and that was they talked a lot about creepiness and atmosphere and everything like that. But that also included a lot of rather visceral images of oh boy, gotta be clean, Ron. Gotta be clean. uh, people self mutilation.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, and but they use it as an expression of their love for one another. It's like, I love you so much, I'm going to cut this off. When I love you this much, I'm going to cut this off. And
well, I'm a married guy, so I'll tell you that there's at least two things you cut off when you say I do.
Of course, yeah, and they're in her purse right now. But yeah, no, it gets. I don't think you'd cut this off if you got married. No.
Whoa.
No, not that.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
It's an awkward thing,
Yeah.
and it was really effects heavy, and it was a long, drawn out shoot. We shot from 7 at night until 4 in the morning, because we just want to get it done. That's my big thing is I like to get things done quick. Indoor Air was shot in 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, Becoming Undead, the one where the woman's standing in the snow.
Yeah.
That was done in I want to say 4 or 5 hours.
4 or 5 hours.
So, yeah, I don't play around. I get what I need, and then I also edit while I'm shooting. So when we took a lunch break, an extended lunch break from Becoming Undead 2, I went and I started editing the footage we already had. And by the time we came back from a break, I had like a mini trailer up.
Wow. Now that brings to mind one thing. It's like, yeah, you say that you're only doing like 3 and 4 hour shoots, but at the same time, how much hours of planning goes into each one of these little independent small films?
Well, the current one I'm working on right now is actually 29 pages long. And I didn't write it. Andrew Bonazelli wrote it. He's the author of a book called Disposed Of, and it's a horror book. Comes in an evidence bag with a bunch of, and it's told through postcards.
Wow.
Yeah, he wrote a short film called Windowless, and if you've ever seen The Vanishing, it's kind of like that. So I'm in pre-production on that right now, and that's gonna take a while because we have to get everything perfect. This is the big one.
Yeah,
I mean,
but when you say a while,
well,
come on, how many hours? Just a straight answer, just a guesstimate.
a guesstimate, I'm probably looking at maybe between 30 and 40. And that's spread out. That's not all total, but I spend more time setting everything up than I do actually shooting.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, and I mean that's typically the formula. Is first you sit down after you get a piece of writing or you write stuff yourself. The first thing you do is you sit down and you plan your shot list, right?
actually, I tend to shoot from beginning to end. I shoot chronologically. I don't really jump around too much.
Oh, okay. So you just basically like, okay, the story unfolds the exact same way that we're shooting. Everything happens in a chronological point A, B, C down the road. Because a lot of films people don't understand are like A, E, G, Z, B. They're all over the map when they shoot.
Right. And the way I look at it, especially with this new one that we're working on, is it starts in the middle of the afternoon and it goes till about sunset. So we kind of have that on our side with kind of just doing it that way. And that way we're gonna spend a whole day on it. It's not just gonna be a couple hours, and we're gonna go through and it's gonna be good.
It's going to be good. Okay. Well, here's a quick question for you because I do have the technology to make this happen. And this is going to be the first time that I guess anybody asks you this question, but is it okay if I show like indoor air?
I'm fine with that. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, well, before we show it, though, let's talk a little bit about this one. This one was your third film, correct?
Oh, heavens no, sir. That's number 11.
That's number... Wow! Can
Yeah.
you name all of them in sequential order?
I certainly can. Let me crack my knuckles here.
Okay, let's go for this.
Yeah, we have Becoming Undead.
Okay.
We have The Social Media Massacre, which you could also call a Hollywood ending because I ended up putting a bunch of different shorts under the banners of The Social Media Massacre. And then there's To Say Goodbye, I'm Streaming Death. And then there was...
I'm noticing a theme.
Really?
Yeah.
And then there was From the Heart. And then Love Is Not Enough.
Okay, now, real quick. I've never heard about Love Is Not Enough and From the Heart. What were these about?
From the Heart is the one with the body horror where people are lobbing things off.
Okay.
It's hard to explain. It's part of the Social Media Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And the Social Media Massacre, basically, for those who don't know, which are probably everybody watching, is the darker side of social media. Everybody loves going to Twitter and talking crap and Facebook and talking crap, but what about the other side of it where, you know, you're going to run into a guy, like, for instance, the very first installment, A Hollywood Ending. It's based on A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner, where a woman's fiance just vanishes.
Wow.
And then 80 years later, when she dies, they go into her house, and he's laying in bed next to her, dead, and he's been decaying all this time.
Yikes.
And you go back and you find out what happened. It's a short and condensed. It's loosely based on it, but, you know, but it's like, you know, and he's vlogging about the whole thing. So you see where I'm taking little bits of social media and I'm putting it in like that. Okay, so From the Heart, Love Is Not Enough, Minion, Nightmare, which is about a killer clown with an axe.
Okay, that's a very good family-friendly concept there, killer clowns with axes.
It is. Then there's From the Womb, which is the sequel to From the Heart, and that has a lot. If you have any mommy issues, you don't want to watch that. And then after From the Heart was Becoming Undead 2, and then there was a long break, like maybe over a year, and then there's Indoor Air.
Wow, Indoor Air.
I'm pretty sure I got them all.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so Indoor Air.
Yes.
When me and you talked about this film before, you said you were kind of playing on some public paranoias out there. Which ones are you talking about? Because
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, I'm just saying, like, for me, watching that film itself is like, it's kind of almost like an emotional breakup. Like you're dealing with relationship endings. Is that it? Am I crazy?
No, and I want people to take their own you know, thoughts about the film away from it. But when I sat down and I wrote it, it was kind of, everybody talks about how, oh, well, you know, honey, if the zombies start coming, I'll have no problem putting you down if need be.
Wow.
No problem whatsoever. And that kind of blossomed into the public stigma, if you will, how taboo it is, euthanasia. And I think that, because I just recently had to go through my grandfather dying in September.
Yeah.
And he really suffered towards the end, and a lot of talk was going around about just, you know, how we wish we could end it for him because it was just that bad. And I recently had, you know, a friend of mine who was going through similar things, and it's just kind of like, I think people need to be able to die with dignity and die the way they want to die. If the option is there, I mean, if you're in a car accident, obviously you have no control over that. But I think that this is kind of, she realizes that he has to go.
Yes. She
has to put him down. But she's hoping that he's still in there. She's hoping that there's something left. And yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I'll let everybody see the ending. I don't want to give it away if they haven't seen it. So
okay. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll insert the clip like right here, and then as soon as we come back, I kind of want to follow up with some questions I have about indoor air, okay?
Okay, sure.
All right. For everybody watching, this is Ron Purtee, independent filmmaker, a guy that proves that you can pretty much make a great horror film off of $50. This is his latest one. It's called Indoor Air, so enjoy.
I'm sorry I taped you down. But you just can't be too careful. With everything going on, you know what to expect. This is just added protection. I know you wouldn't hurt me before. But now, no, I'm not too sure. Why couldn't you just stay gone? Do you remember us? We were happy. Were you even in there? What about our child? Do you remember him? Is there anything left anymore? I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to put you through this. I should have done this sooner. I always will.
All right, so that was Indoor Air, and here's like one big question that just it hit me right before we got into showing the clip. But you were talking about how you have conversations where people are like, "Oh, I would have no problem in putting you down," and when it actually comes to that moment, as you dealt with your grandfather's passing, in some way you feel like you do want to release people from their pain and suffering. But would you say that indoor air is kind of a comparison for the feelings that everyone, when a relative is sick or when they lose a loved one, maybe cancer and things like that, that these are emotions that people deal with, and you've turned it into a horror film?
I guess, yeah. I would say that the whole underlying message of indoor air is loss,
Wow.
and losing. I said to someone recently, I said, I guess zombies are my thing, because Becoming Undead got a lot of big press, and Becoming Undead 2, obviously nominated for a Rondo Award, and Indoor Air kind of getting a lot of people talking, and they said, no, zombies aren't your thing. Tragedy is.
Really?
Oh, I guess, yeah. I suppose you're right. Yeah, tragedy is, because like, for example, Love Is Not Enough deals with someone cheating on someone else. It's my Fatal Attraction.
Wow.
But yeah,
With zombies?
And then no zombies. I only did 3 zombie films out of the 11.
Oh.
But for some reason, the zombie ones were the most well received. I don't know why.
What about zombies makes them tragic, though? I don't get that comparison, that you're working in tragedy, but you're making zombie movies. Why are zombies tragic, man?
They're us. They're us.
Really?
Yeah, Frankenstein's monster is just that. He's somebody's monster. He's built up of different body parts, and he's brought back to life.
Okay.
Dracula is a vampire. He's a full-on monster. It just, the list goes on and on and on. Werewolves, all that stuff. But zombies are us. They're you. They're me. They're our next door neighbor. It may look different. The lights may not be on, but as a human race, we look at a zombie like that, and we see the person who's there, regardless of if their jaw's hanging off. If that's your brother, your sister, your mother, your lover, whatever, you're going to look at that person. You're going to see in their eyes, they might not be there, but they're still kind of there. And your head doesn't process it. Like in the original Dawn of the Dead, which is by far my favorite film ever, the doctor, the scientist with the eye patch, says that I'm paraphrasing, mind you, one of the biggest problems that they had, why it got so out of control, is because people let their feelings and their emotions get control of them.
Mm-hmm.
They need to just go ahead and boom, you see one, kill it, be done. It's not your family member anymore. It's not your neighbor. It's not the milkman who may or may not be your kid's dad. It's just you just got to do it and get it over with.
Things are different in Wisconsin.
Well, we have cows in our backyard that we get the milk from. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, but while where you guys are, last time I heard, milk is what, $7 a gallon?
It's up there.
Yeah, here it's not even 4.
See, that is a horror film. The arm and a leg that each person in Maui has to give at the grocery store each week for groceries.
Yeah, hey, I can feed a family of 3 people, and one of them has a special diabetic diet. 3 people on $100 a week.
Oh, we hate you so much. We hate you so much. Well, not that. I mean, because, it is Wisconsin, and if you think about Wisconsin...
Plenty of room in Wisconsin. Plenty of room. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on over.
The reason there's plenty of room in Wisconsin, there's plenty of nothing to do. And would you say...
plenty to do.
Oh, come on. It's like a small town where you're at, isn't it?
There are 83,000 people.
83,000 people. So you would say that coming up from that small town and being in a place where, let's be honest, not a lot is happening... It kind of inspired you to make your own things happen with making films independently?
I honestly, I get asked the question a lot, what made me start making movies?
Yeah.
And I don't think it was the location. I don't remember what movie exactly drove me to start making films, per se. Like I said, I remember seeing Ghostbusters when I was little, but other than that, I don't think there's one picture in particular. I think just the whole scope of everything. And as it... I think as the 90s kicked in and you see all these people who aren't the big fancy directors, they're not Hitchcock, they're not Ford, they're not Coppola, they're not people like that.
Yeah.
They're making films like the Kevin Smiths or the Robert Rodriguez. People who, by all rights, shouldn't have a camera and shouldn't be making movies.
Quentin Tarantino.
We're not going to talk about Tarantino, but
Every director, doesn't matter what level you're at, has an opinion of Tarantino.
And I choose to keep mine to myself.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm a big, I was inspired, I guess, by more the people than the films themselves. I was inspired by Kevin Smith and Robert Rodriguez and people like that. But now that I'm actually in the scope of everything and technology is advancing to a point where any schlub with an iPhone can make a movie,
Yeah.
I'm looking more at people like Christopher Nolan or I'm a huge, huge David Fincher fan.
David Fincher,
You know,
what has he done?
Seven, Zodiac,
Whoa.
Curious Case of Benjamin Button, The Social Network. Oh God, what else has he done? The Game, Panic Room, Fight Club.
Jeez, that's a lot of movies.
He hasn't done anything that I can remember. No. No.
But you would say that, like, right now, he's among your favorites, or at least inspirational ones.
Oh, without a doubt, he's probably number one.
Wow. And what about it? What about him draws you the most?
Well, that he's kind of embraced technology. I remember hearing a story about on the set of Zodiac, he would just let the camera go because it was digital. It wasn't 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
And Robert Downey Jr. would get so pissed off that they wouldn't take breaks that he would leave jars of his urine all over the set for the PAs to go find because he couldn't go take a break.
Wow.
So he would just go to the bathroom wherever. Yeah, and I just love, embracing technology. And that's not me saying that I'm going to go off and make a CGI picture where, a giant monster takes the place of a story. But, and that's not my rib on Godzilla.
I was about to say, was that a little jab at a reptile movie currently out?
No, that was more a little jab at a trilogy of films.
Ow.
With a bunch of little moppets running around with hairy feet. But,
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's got it deep there. All right.
Yeah. But no, and I'm a big fan of technology. I mean, some point I'd love to shoot on 35 millimeter, but you got a lot of theaters that are moving towards digital when they show stuff. So it's kind of as cool as it would be. It was super expensive, and I just don't. It's kind of for me at least. I'm not saying everybody, but for me, it's kind of more of a novelty thing to say I'm shooting on 35 millimeter.
Yeah, and I guess if you're an independent filmmaker, your goal is one day to do it just like the greats did it before you, right?
Well, yeah, and in this case, David Fincher is the great that's doing it before me, and he's shooting on digital.
And like, as far as what you're shooting now, what kind of stuff are you using?
Right now we're working with a lot of Canon DSLR stuff, T2i, T3i, things of that nature.
And then, as far as editing, how do you put it back together? Do you use Final Cut? Which one?
Well, right now here's the thing. This is gonna piss off a lot of people, but I use Final Cut Pro X because, but now mind you, that's my first exposure to Final Cut.
Yeah.
So I can't say, well, 7 was so much better, and then get mad and switch over to Adobe Premiere. But I like Final Cut Pro 10. It's easy. The interface is nice, and I'm really getting better at my color correction. But I think for this next picture, I'm gonna let somebody else do it, so it's done right. But yeah, so
yeah, people don't usually expect it, but when you are making independent movies, you have to be your own editor, your own director, your producer, your talent coordinator, your casting director, your floor director, your craft services. I mean,
oh yeah. That's it's kind of, but it also goes back to something I heard about, like, and this is more my philosophy about things when it comes to making films. A lot of people will say, well, why is the director taking all the credit? Because somebody in a grip, okay,
yeah,
isn't going to get crap if the movie isn't good. The director is.
Yeah, you're right. It's eventually the captain's ship.
Exactly. So if something bad happens, the director is the one who's going to get nailed for it.
Yeah.
So you can't have the double standard and say, oh, well, then if it's good, he should share it with it. He should say, well, that's everybody's film. And usually the director is. I say, I can't do this all myself. And a lot of people, they can't. and that's just yeah.
Okay,
So,
well, I tell you what, we got to take a quick break here, but when we come back, I called it a rando, but it's actually a rondo, and you were
Yes.
nominated for one.
I was.
So we'll talk about your nomination and, well, what film got in and what is a rondo or rando or whatever. We'll come back in just a sec after the break here at Live.
That's low. That's low. That's low. Look, he's blushing. Seriously. Okay. So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
It is back live and, well, right around the halfway mark of the show. My guest today, Ron Purtee, independent horror film director. As a matter of fact, we can say award-nominated independent film director. What does it feel like, first of all, just to be in the same category as a bunch of other, dare I say, big-name movies for this award called the Rondo?
I didn't know what a rondo was before I was nominated. I had gone to see with a couple of my friends Need for Speed. I don't know why.
Hey, a guy into horror film wanted to see Need for Speed.
I didn't want to, but we hadn't seen it. We've seen everything else, so it's like, well, let's just go see this MST3K fodder.
Okay.
And that is exactly what it was. This film makes Gamera look like Oscar contention, but
Yikes.
yeah. And I get home and I hop on the computer like which is my want, and I get a message on Facebook, congratulations, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What did I? Am I pregnant? What? So I look it up and there I'm nominated for a Rondo Best Short Film of 2013, and I'll be honest, I don't keep up with a lot of the other people, independent filmmakers, because unless I'm friends with them, because I'm busy doing my stuff, and it's not a knock on them. They do great work. It's just like you said, when you're an independent filmmaker, you have so much you have to do that it's kind of hard to
do anything else.
Exactly.
Have a life, eat, go to the restroom.
Oh, I love the times I get to go to the bathroom, because that's when it's like, no, I'm not done yet. 20 minutes later, after you're all done, and you're just sitting there reading your new issue of Nova that you got from the comic book store.
Because that's the only time you're going to get privacy.
Exactly. Pretty much, because you have to do everything.
Yeah.
And but luckily for me, with Indoor Air, I had an amazing director of photography with John Roop, and I had a great cast, and in Deanne Baker and Brandon Nichols, and I was lucky enough to have a cool mom let me shoot in the garage, and that was her wheelchair that he was sitting in.
Wow! Wow!
Yeah. So
well, let's get back to the Rondo Award. First off,
yes,
what the heck is a Rondo?
The Rondo Hatton Award. The award is in the shape of his face.
Rondo Hatton.
And yes, Hatton, and it's like a classic horror film award.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say.
And when you say classic horror film awards, like what are some of the criteria that you have to meet to be considered a classic horror film?
I honestly don't know. I just make my film, and if somebody thinks that I'm good enough to be in the same league as some other people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most filmmakers will sit back and say, man, I'm writing this to win X award. So you're saying that this just came about out of left field. You had no idea that you were
Right.
up for one of these.
Right.
All right.
I didn't have to enter anything. This wasn't I mean this wasn't like a stick am contest where I to go to South by Southwest, but uh
I know many years ago when me and you were competing for the Stickam South by Southwest host. That's
yeah, that
God, we are old.
we are. Oh boy. But anyway, no, and I didn't expect it. And it was kind of cool to even be nominated.
Yeah. Now, do you know who nominated you?
I have no idea.
Really?
If somebody watching this knows who nominated me, I'd like to give you a big wet sloppy kiss.
All right.
So preferably be a female.
Okay. Yeah.
That'd
well.
be great.
And then also, could you work it into the time that he's in the bathroom, because that's the only free time he's going to have for this wet sloppy kiss?
Bring a blanket because you don't want to see anything.
Let's
step away from that because this is a family program when we talk about bodily mutilation.
Yeah, okay. So Rondo Hatton, classic film horror maker, has his own award named after him. You have no idea how you got nominated.
He was in a movie. I'm looking it up now because I'm horrible at remembering things if it's not in front of me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my interviews are all about preparation.
Of course. It was like the setup for this interview was, yeah, I'll get back to you. Yeah, hold on. No, I gotta go to the bathroom. Hold on. Yep. Sure. Yep. No, just hold on. But that was the setup for this interview, basically.
Yeah, it was 3 minutes before we went air, so.
Pretty much was. But like some of the winners here, I'll give you an example. Let's see. Best film of 2013 was The Conjuring.
Wow.
I love that. It was a great movie. Best TV presentation was the season finale of, or the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead.
Okay, I gotta agree.
I can't stand the show anymore.
Wow.
Best
Why?
classic.
Now, does this have to do with being A, comic book geek, or B, a director of horror films?
More comic book geek than director of horror films.
So the truth comes out.
I'm a dork. What can I say? I just said that I read Nova comic books while I'm on the toilet. So what do and you're telling me the truth comes out? Sure.
Yeah, it's like, well, if the truth didn't already come out fully.
Exactly. But
are you one of those purists that is mad at The Walking Dead because it's diverged from the, shall we say, base material?
It depends on how they diverge from it. I understand that you have to make things different. Like with the show Arrow, there's just little things that they take from the comic books and throw it into the show, and it doesn't bother me. I think it's just the presentation, I suppose. To go to an old episode of the Cosby Show when Bill is talking to Vanessa. No, not Vanessa. Was it Vanessa? Yeah, it was Vanessa when she brought home Dabness.
Ah, okay.
I remember that, but I don't remember anything about the Rondo Awards. And he said, you could have a steak and vegetables and a baked potato, and it would just be perfect. But when you present it on a garbage can lid... You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is in the way that you, as they say in the industry, I can say that because I know an independent director now. That's
you do?
Yeah.
Can I meet him?
That's how you call framing the context of your work or the content.
Boom.
Yeah.
And I'm just not a big fan of the way they do it.
Well, okay. Well, no, true that.
Plus, I'm not a big fan of the backdoor politics that are going on. Like when Frank Darabont, got the show on the air.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he gets let go halfway through the second season. But they're good enough to let him, to use him to promote the show at Comic-Con. And then they give him the Spanish Archer, the elbow.
Yikes. That's just...
Yeah.
Well, okay. Politics aside, though, when you see a show, especially a horror show like The Walking Dead...
I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people did, but, let's get off of the, geekery side and back to the filmmaking side. When you see a show like this take off as a steady feature on a cable television show, is there hope for you as an independent director that, hey, maybe one day there'll be an outlet for me to get a vehicle like that of my own?
Yes and no. Part of me is happy because there's zombies on TV and it's one of the highest rated television shows.
Well, if you watch
right
CNN,
now.
there's zombies on all the time.
Well, see, I think that's Fox News, but that's just me.
Huh.
But we're not going to talk about how much of a red state Hawaii is. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
yeah, yeah. We may have a Republican governor, but the rest of us are pretty liberal. It's just kind of you see it and you're happy that it's there, but then when the numbers start going up, you realize that this is going to pick up in merchandising and this and that and everything. And now, and I'm not laying all the blame on Walking Dead, but now everybody is doing zombie stuff.
Yes, true.
So it's kind of, you can't go and do a zombie picture and be taken seriously. That's kind of why I tried to go a different route. You don't see any of my zombies eating anybody. There's no big devouring sequences. There's always something underlying. Becoming undead was just, showing someone after they've been bitten and the struggle that they go through. At one point he puts a gun to his head like he's going to kill himself, but then he's like, he just can't bring himself to do it. And Becoming Undead 2 is about losing yourself and becoming the monster. And then Indoor Air is dealing with loss in general. So I mean, it's not. I mean, granted, I'm not tackling consumerism or Reaganomics or anything like that, like a lot of the big zombie films in the 80s, 70s, and 80s did. But I try to go at it in a different way.
And when you talk about like a different way, if you could have your druthers about it and actually have like the budget to do, say, maybe a full feature-length Hollywood type of movie, would you go along the conventional paths of horror that as Hollywood seems to churn out year after year after year, or would you try to kind of push the envelope a little bit like you do in some of your short films? Because honestly, when I'm watching your films versus watching like a multi-million-dollar Hollywood thing, you don't seem to go along with the conventional, how do I say, the timeline that we all know. Something creepy happens, it sets up a lot of creepy, but at the end, ooh, redemption.
Yeah, no. When I make a horror film, if I knock over the apple cart, it's staying knocked over. There's no one's gonna come and pick it up.
Yeah, and there does seem to be a Deus Ex Machina that kind of cleans up in these kind of Hollywood productions.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of there's no getting out of a situation like this. And I just kind of, I mean, with The Conjuring,
yeah,
for instance, we were talking about that earlier. They get out of it, but, spoiler alert, but, I mean, you're kind of left with everything that happened to you, and you have to deal with that.
Yes.
And it's just kind of, so that's just the way
And most horror films in Hollywood are set up kind of like there's supposed to be an amnesia between each parts. Like, why was there 13 Friday the 13th? After the second, wouldn't a bunch of rednecks in that area kind of figure out something's going on and go out in the woods killing folk?
Well, yes and no. One, money, can do wonders. And two, a lot of the people in that area, if you watch the films, they want to brush it under the rug. They just tell people, don't go back there. Everything will be fine. If you go back there, it's just going to stir up a bunch of trouble. So just stay out. They a lot like I just now put this together. I don't know why it took me 20 years to do it, but a lot of the times the Friday the 13th films for me are an allegory for the government at any given time.
Really?
And
Jason.
think about it for a second.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be Obama or Bush or Clinton or
just
whoever.
Government.
The government in period is period. Because what's the one thing the government's really good at? Brushing things under the rug, hoping we'll forget about it.
Ah, okay.
And what's the one thing people in Friday the 13th movies want you to do? Brush it under the rug, forget about it, just leave it alone.
Wow. Like, horror films are the press secretary of the Hollywood industry.
Boom!
But, we talk about some of the classic horror films and things like that. Now, let's jump track a little bit back to some of your own work. You work a lot in horror films, and you said that horror films are allegories for, things that we see in everyday life. Something interesting I read that this will probably freak you out. Are you ready for this?
I think so.
Okay, people that are liberal view conservatives unfeeling, acting in a common kind of mindless lemming-like way towards a goal are the zombies. So whenever there is a time when liberal media wants to kind of smash back at the zombies, i.e. when Republicans are more in power in the House and the White House, more zombie movies come out. Now, the opposite is true of the conservative folks. They seem to think of liberal folks as vampires. So, during the times that you could say the right-wing people are in power, you'll notice that a lot more vampire programs come out because these prey on conservative people's fear of, the leeches of society. Would you say, understanding all of that stuff that I just said, would you say that your use of zombies is actually kind of a political reflection of yourself?
No, I don't add anything political into my films. I do all that stuff on Facebook. I'm the Shawn Michael of the independent film community.
Ouch. Ouch.
There's a little throwback for your show.
Yeah, just throw it back to our director of programming, Shawn Michael, Facebook celebrity.
Yes, without a doubt.
There's no political agendas when you're choosing the subject of your pieces. You're actually writing from what you would say is a emotional, rational, tackling issues type of place.
A lot of the times I'm dealing with things personally, and like Indoor Air I was dealing with my grandfather's death, obviously, and Becoming Undead 2 I was kind of dealing with when I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm not going to hide it, and for a good period of time I let all that go. And it's like in the movie, her inner herself is gone, and she became this monster. And I wasn't there, but there was somebody fueled by a whole lot of Jack Daniels.
Yeah, true.
So a lot of that has to do with and it's like a film like the first Social Media Massacre, and it has lots to do with being alone. And you see all these commercials on TV for eHarmony and Match.com and J-Date and Christian Mingle and I don't know, F-Date for farmers. I whatever is coming up next, but it really puts it home. Like, if you're not with somebody, there's something wrong with you.
And it does seem like that society has set us up like that now. If you are not wrapped up around somebody imminently, you are some sort of deviant.
Right. I'm a huge deviant, apparently.
But then again, we've talked about the schedule, so we know that, Ron, busy guy.
Ron could make time for a nice lady if he would slow down on his films and not watch so much Apple TV.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But, okay, back to films, because this is something that I thought about before the show, and I was like, I'm really going to press him for this. Right now, it seems like a lot of your work seems to be in the horror genre. If you could step outside of the genre of films that you make, knowing that you're an independent guy and you do have low budget, lack of time, and things like that, what other genres would you make if you could?
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I'm currently working on a script for a sci-fi picture now, and usually my scripts end up being 4 or 5 pages long. The opening sequence in this thing is 4 or 5 pages long, so I'm thinking it might be a little bit longer, and I'm not going to say what it's about on the air. I'll wait till we're off the air, and I'll fill you in on it so you can marvel in my awesomeness. But,
once again, our show, all about pretentiousness.
Exactly, and I think plus sci-fi has the closest relation to horror, because you can add the two together, like Alien, for instance. sci-fi horror.
But is it possible to do good sci-fi on a low budget?
Yeah, now it is, I think. After Effects and green screens and all sorts of stuff like that has really kind of lent itself to make it easy to make a sci-fi picture. And again, it's all about the story. If the story is there, people will forgive how crappy your green screen looks.
Yeah, well,
I like to think at least.
yeah. Well, I mean, it did well for Iron Man, so there you go.
Anyhow, Iron Man was awesome.
Iron Man was awesome. All right, I'll give you that.
Iron Man 3 made Iron Man 2 look like Iron Man 1.
Wow. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
how about that?
But so sci-fi and horror. Now, if you had like to list some of your, because we've talked all about your horror inspirations, but when it comes to sci-fi, what's the kind of work that you look at and you admire and want to, like, I guess, emulate in a way?
Doctor Who, obviously. I'm a big fan.
What about that show? Because that is a show that, one, if you don't know who Doctor Who is, Jesus Christ, crawl out from under that rock.
What's wrong with you people?
Jeez. The show's only been on like 5 decades, but Doctor Who was one of those shows that started off as a low-budget, kind of a last-minute things for the BBC, but despite this, and because of very powerful writing, they've had a long-term success.
Exactly.
So that's the kind of show that you're looking for, is where the story is so enthralling that literally your villain could be like some dude with like a chinette stapled to his forehead, and you would still be scared of that guy.
Yeah, because it's all about setting it up in the story. However, that being said, one of my favorite sci-fi pictures right now is Pacific Rim.
Really?
I cannot watch that movie enough. I love it so much. I'm just when it's on, I'm just like this.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry, Ron. I just like had a window crop up over your head. Show fail.
That show.
Oh man,
But,
I'm telling
no,
you, Shaggy.
I love Pacific Rim, and I like.
But Pacific Rim was like Rock'em Sock'em Robots for the big screen.
No, it wasn't. No.
Come on. Like, as far as sci-fi,
I kind of go dumb when it comes to Pacific Rim. There are a few things I'm an apologist for. George A. Romero pictures, the plot holes in The Dark Knight Rises,
okay,
and Pacific Rim.
You'll apologize for all of those.
I don't apologize for it. I try to fight for them, and make sure that, I try to get my point across that no, these are actually really good, despite that Batman got back to Gotham from across the globe in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, you notice that? I mean, that's not a far flight from China to Gotham. I'm thinking Gotham somewhere in the Philippines.
Yeah, Gotham is a floating island somewhere. Gotham is on the back of Gamera.
Yikes. Well, okay, look, I've got like 5 minutes left in the show here, so I got to say big thanks for joining us. I know the time difference here makes things a little difficult between Hawaii and Wisconsin.
No problem.
But okay, now looking forward, though, because at one point you had a show, the Ron Purtee show, where you got to go interview some people, and you made me incredibly jealous because you got to interview the entire staff of MST3K.
The only people I think I missed out on were was Joel, really. I got everybody else. And Kevin.
Yeah.
Joel and Kevin were the only original members of the staff. Well, hold on, because Kevin wasn't on the original staff.
No, he wasn't. It was...
if you go back to KTMA days, then I got everybody.
Okay. So you got the originals.
I didn't get... Hold on.
You did not get Joel.
I didn't get Joel. I got Trace. I got Frank. I got Jay Elvis. I didn't get Malin. But that's it. I think I got a huge chunk of them.
Wow. Now,
and I got Trace, Jay Elvis, and Frank all in one sitting.
Now, see, that's the thing. It's like, I'm a huge fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000, and you would call yourself a huge fan too, right?
I'm a big Mystic. Yeah, I am.
Would you say that watching that show actually made you want to do your own movies? Because I'm not going to lie, watching Joel on the original MST3K kind of made me want to get on television.
You know, and that's it's funny you mention that, because making all the short films that I've done, I tend to look at it like, well, maybe I can use the short films and get into TV.
Yeah.
Because horror TV is a big thing right now. You have The Walking Dead,
Vampire Diaries.
You have Keeping Up with Kardashians. You have, and then there's Constantine, which is going to be showing up in the fall.
Yeah.
The Guillermo del Toro's The Strain, which is coming to FX, which is awesome. And if you've read the books. And a lot of horror is coming to TV, and people seem to be embracing it quite well, I think. Supernatural is going to be on its 10th season next year.
Yikes.
Yeah, and I still watch it, and it's not because they're pretty boys, but there's actually a story there, believe it or not.
A story of why you watch it, or a story in the show itself?
Story in the show itself.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it made me think maybe TV would be the right way to go, but for those that don't know, getting into TV is 20 times harder than getting into film.
Really? Because I got this show.
Like I said, getting into TV is 20 times harder than getting into film.
I can't get cocky, right?
No, I will pop your balloons, sir.
Yes. Oh, man. Oh, but Ron, I do have to say, big thank you for coming on. And you said you had a couple of projects coming up in the pipeline. What are they?
Windowless, which was written by Andrew Bonazelli. He is an author, and it's like I said, if you've seen The Vanishing, it's got that kind of vibe to it. So there's not a lot of gore at all, really. It's more of a character-driven piece, which I've really been looking forward to doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm working on my big sci-fi script, which I can't really give away.
You
too
can't
much.
really divulge. I mean, I'm gonna beg you for it, but it's not gonna happen. Is
I
it?
can't. No. But I will. As I'm leaving, I will give the Megaforce thumb kiss. That's sci-fi-ish, right?
Yeah. Okay. There you go. All right. Well, Ron, thanks for coming on the show. Quick, if somebody wants to look you up on YouTube or stuff, see Indoor Air, what name do they go under? What's your channel there?
Oh, it's youtube.com/Ron Purtee.
Ron Purtee. All right. Well, Ron, thanks so much for coming on, okay?
No problem.
All right. Well, for everybody else that joined our crazy little show for today, our Skype show, hey, yay, thanks for it. You're being simulcast right here on 88.5 and channel 55 Akaku Daily. We leave you with just a little clip of another Ron Purtee film and invite you to come back with us tomorrow. Until then, see ya.